There is something very fragile that many women do not realize until it starts to crack. It happens when you try to be just enough for someone else, and slowly you begin to trade away your own wholeness. Not through loud actions, but through the smallest of details that no one even notices. An apology when you did nothing wrong. A message explaining why you could not reply in time. A softer tone, just so he does not think you are too strong. It all starts from what seems like grace. But in truth, it is a quiet refusal of your right to be yourself. You think you are keeping the relationship, but you are slowly leaking away the very value you bring. Every time you apologize to be understood, instead of standing as who you are sending an unspoken message that you must accept misalignment to stay. And that does not build love. It builds imbalance. The more one person tries to make everything easy, the more the other feels they do not need to hold anything sacred, because you are doing their part for them. Men do not need a woman who is always on time, always gentle, always available. They need a woman who knows exactly where she stands and does not apologize for it. They need to feel that your presence carries weight, not that your predictability makes everything fade like water. Your value does not lie in how quickly you reply or how often you agree. It lies in how you stand firm in what you believe is right. You do not need to explain every boundary. A simple "I do not feel comfortable with that" is enough. No extra reasons, no apologies for disagreement. Every time you over-explain, you place yourself on someone else's scale, and true worth is never measured that way. The more you try to prove that you deserve love, the more you weaken your inner strength. Because what is truly worthy does not need to be proven. It needs to be lived. It shows in how you choose silence when words carry no more weight, in how you do not reply just to calm your own fear, in how you allow yourself to walk away without explanation when respect is no longer present. A man who does not see your worth is not blind because you did not try hard enough. It is because your effort is acting as a curtain, covering the truth that you are afraid. Afraid that if you do not give enough, speak enough, try enough, he will leave. But if someone leaves because you stayed true to yourself, that is not a loss. That is clarity. And clarity always brings light to those who choose to remain rooted in their values. You are not loved because you are gentler than others. You are loved because you never softened who you are to please someone else. That is the quiet kind of power. That is where real value is preserved. Not through effort, through presence. If you have ever found yourself in this, share it in the comments. Your story might awaken someone who has forgotten their own worth. And if you want to keep receiving reminders like this, leave a like and follow the channel. Because sometimes, just 1% of clarity each day is enough to make sure you never have to trade away who you are for anyone. There is something no one teaches you, but you learn it early. That to keep someone close, you need to be agreeable. You need to ask for less, soften your edges, be less different. You learn to adjust yourself so the other person does not feel uncomfortable, and little by little you start to shrink, not through loud actions, but through things that seem harmless. You do not speak up when something hurts you. You smile at jokes that cross your boundaries. You nod even when you feel unsure inside. And eventually, you get used to not expressing what you truly want. You think it is love, but really, it is a version of self-withdrawal. You do not lose your worth all at once. You simply stop recognizing yourself in the relationship. And the cruelest part is, you start blaming the other person for what you chose to stay silent about. Because when you shrink, you disappear. Not in someone else's eyes, but in your own experience. You begin to doubt your inner voice. You wonder if you are too sensitive, too selfish, too difficult. But you are not difficult. You are just trying to hold on to something you are afraid to lose, so much so that you end up losing yourself instead. Men are not drawn to constant pleasing. They are drawn to clarity. And when you begin to trade your boundaries for closeness, you send the wrong message, that you are willing to unmake yourself just so they feel at ease. But real love does not come from comfort. It comes from full presence. The right person will never make you choose between love and yourself. The right person will not ask you to shrink so you can fit into a version of you they prefer. If they were drawn to your independence, your strong voice, your unbowed gaze, then what pushed them away was not that you were too much, but that you started becoming too little. When you shrink, you do not just lose your voice. You lose your ability to see yourself as worthy. You enter a space of quiet surrender, where every feeling is weighed as, is this worth it? But worth is not about whether it is worth it. It is about whether you dare to hold on to yourself, no matter the outcome. Do not disappear to keep someone who cannot see all of you. If you have to dim your lights so they are not overwhelmed, then they are not the one you need beside you. Real love does not ask you to switch off. It asks you to shine in the right way at the right time. And if that light is too much for someone, let them blink and step back. You were not born to fade because someone else is not enough. You are not selfish for holding on to yourself. You are not difficult for setting boundaries. You are not too much for asking to be respected. You are simply living true, and truth needs no apology. If you have ever stepped away from yourself just to hold on to someone else, leave a comment below. You might help someone take the first step out of what you have already overcome. And if you believe women do not need to shrink to be loved, hit like, subscribe to Daily 1% Impact, and continue walking with us on the journey back to yourself, 1% at a time, each day. There is a kind of exhaustion no one sees. It does not come from work or big life events. It comes from those moments when you have to explain too much just to be understood. From the long messages trying to clarify a simple feeling. From the times you try so hard to sound gentle so he will not think you are blaming him. From constantly softening the truth to keep the peace. But what you are trading is not just tension, it is your self-respect. Every time you over-explain, you are assuming that your feelings must be reasonable to be valid, that your boundaries must be worded gently to deserve respect, but feelings do not need logic to be heard. Boundaries do not need evidence to be honored. When you begin to believe that you must present everything in a nice tone to avoid conflict, you are not preserving harmony. You are sacrificing your right to feel. A man does not need you to be a lawyer for your emotions. He needs you to be real, clear, whole, and unapologetic. When you say, "I do not like that," you do not need to add, "I am not blaming you." It is just that. Because every time you soften a truth, you blur your place in the relationship. And then you wonder why he does not understand you, why he does not change. The answer is not that he is not listening. It is that you are speaking from fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as difficult. Fear of being left. But love is not built on fear. It is built on clarity. And sometimes, clarity is just 3 words. I disagree. You do not need to write an essay to protect your dignity. Someone who truly wants to understand you will not need you to explain endlessly. And someone who only listens when your words are polished and pleasing is not someone worth opening your heart to. When you get used to explaining too much, you get tired. The relationship starts to feel heavy, not because of what is happening, but because of what is misaligned within you. You lose the sense of being fully yourself. You become the version that is easy, agreeable, accessible, but hard to truly connect with, because you are not really there. You are just trying to be accepted. Try to pause. Next time you want to explain something, ask yourself, does this feeling deserve to stand on its own? The answer is yes. Always yes. And when you dare to stand in what you feel without rushing to justify it, you are teaching the other person how to see you more clearly. Not with their ears, but with awareness. Not with reasoning, but with clarity. If you have ever fallen into the spiral of explaining just to feel emotionally valid, share it below. Maybe your story is the last explanation you ever need to give. And if this resonates with you, if it is something worth being reminded of daily, like, share, and follow the Daily 1% Impact channel to remind yourself every day that you do not need to speak perfectly to be loved. You just need to be real enough to be respected. Some relationships are not loud. There are no fights, no clear betrayals, no breakups. There is just you, slowly losing pieces of yourself without anyone noticing. It starts with genuine care. You believe you are loving with your whole heart, but over time, you realize what you are giving is not just love. It is your emotional freedom, your inner safety, your inner voice. You send the first message, not because you want to, but because you fear things will grow cold if you do not. You agree to move forward even when doubts rise inside, just because you do not want to seem too sensitive. You stay silent when hurt, not because you have healed, but because you fear he will leave if you speak. You stay, not for love, but for fear of being left. And that fear, when wrapped in acts that look like love, begins to resemble loyalty. It looks like devotion, but really, it is fear in disguise. You are not loving from fullness. You are loving from hunger. A hunger to be accepted, to be kept, to feel worthy. And in that, you lose the most important thing, your ability to choose. A woman who loves from fear will always find herself in a passive place. She does not love to connect. She loves to hold on. She does not love to grow. She loves so she is not left behind. And so, she always does more than needed, always thinks for both, always fills the gaps he leaves behind. But love is never sustained by one-sided effort. If you have to pull, if you have to hold, if you have to constantly patch things up, then it is no longer love. It is a performance. And every performance grows tiring. And what is tired will eventually fall apart. A man can sense that. Even if he never says it out loud, he feels something is not natural. A kind of energy that does not come from connection, but from fear. And he begins to pull away, not because you are not enough, but because you are trying too hard to prove that you are, when what he truly needs is the peace you used to have before you lost yourself. You do not need to love as if you are in a competition. You do not need to remind him that you are worthy of being chosen. You only need to remember that true love does not have to be begged to stay. It stays because it feels enough. And if it does not, you do not have to fix yourself. You just need to walk away. Love born from fear always carries a bitter aftertaste, even if you call it sacrifice, patience, or compassion. But if deep down you are a small girl, always on edge, always holding back, always trying not to make a mistake, then that is not love. That is self-abandonment. You can stop. Right now, look into yourself and ask, are the things you are doing coming from real love or from fear, wrapped in sweet words? If you have ever loved someone to the point of losing yourself, leave a message, not to complain, but to remind each other that you are not alone in the journey of reclaiming your worth. And if you believe that a woman who loves from fullness is truly strong, like, share, and follow the channel Daily 1% Impact, because here, every day, we will remind each other of that, 1% at a time, but always moving toward ourselves. There's a mirror many women quietly look into each day. It is not the one in the bedroom. It is the gaze of a man. When he looks at you with admiration, you feel beautiful. When he texts you, you feel important. When he goes silent, you feel small. When he becomes distant, you begin to doubt yourself. And when he leaves, you feel like you have lost all your worth. But the issue is not with him. The issue is that you place the mirror that reflects your self-worth in someone else's hands. And that is the perfect setup for emotional dependency. Because anyone holding the mirror can distort your reflection. And you will keep adjusting yourself based on their moods, reactions, and behavior. A man should never be the measure of your value. He may see your light or not. He may stay or leave. He may listen or not, but whatever he does, you are still you. No more, no less, no validation needed. When your worth depends on someone else's presence, your emotions become unstable. A compliment makes you feel loved. A silence makes you feel invisible. And then you start living in waiting, second-guessing, and constant adjusting. Every day becomes a game you can never win because the rules are not yours. True value is not about being chosen. It is about knowing who you are even when no one chooses you. It is when you can look in the mirror and not ask, "What does he see in me?" but say, "I see myself, and I am enough." A woman who knows her worth does not beg for attention. She does not ask, "Am I worthy?" She says, "I know I am. Can you meet me there?" That is not pride. That is clarity. And if you are in a relationship where you keep asking, "Am I still loved? Am I asking too much? Am I soft enough? Pretty enough? Easy enough?" then the real question is not about him. It is about you. Why did you let someone else define how full you get to feel? Take back that mirror. Place it in your own hands. See yourself with your own eyes. From that place, every other gaze becomes optional. If you have ever lived in the uncertainty of needing someone else's approval, let that truth be spoken. You are not alone. And if these words remind you of who you are, let them be your return. Let them be a way to help someone else see themselves clearly again. You do not need to be chosen to be worthy. You are worthy. That is why being chosen was never the point.